Hello and welcome to YHTV's Trinity of Life. This is episode 65. I'm Christina Suzuma, your host for this program. Thank you so much for joining me as I continue to explore the wonderful world of healing arts, meditation, therapies, and the many modalities of helping each of us find balance in our individual journeys. We are always excited to meet those who are on the leading edge of creating change on this planet. Today our show is Avidya and The Kleshas, Creating New Balance. Now, at any time during this presentation, you can feel free to ask a question or make a comment just by scrolling down on your screen and typing it into the comment box. We will be sure to get those comments to our special guest, and if she has a reply, then we will pop in that reply to you as well. Today, we have with us a wonderful bandleader and vocalist, Stephanie Carlin, as she shares her journey of creating these amazing eclectic rhythms and sounds and poetry to inspire generations upon generations towards spiritual enlightenment. I would like to welcome Stephanie Carlin. Hello, Stephanie.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here and joining us today in your busy schedule, creating music every day. So, Stephanie, I mean, this album of yours is really brilliant. It's lovely, and hence why we wanted to get you on our show. Can you share with our audience a little bit about your background?
Yeah. This is the first record that this quintet has made, and it took about 26 months. And in the beginning of that seemingly long and arduous process, I had just graduated college and was really aching to find a voice musically. So we started a Kickstarter campaign and successfully funded it. It funded about half of our record. And over the course of those 26 months, we ended up hiring lots of musicians and then firing lots of musicians and hiring fancy producers and then firing those fancy producers. And it was this whole long process of finding people that really understood what kind of messages we were trying to convey. And the people we thought were the right people, popular people, weren't exactly the right people or popular people. And it was a very long lesson in patience. But at the end of the day, I think the five of us can really say we're very proud of this record and all of the different topics that we try to touch on.
Now you came up with this idea and brought everyone together?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did.
So now, for you, when did you know that you wanted to be involved in music?
I've always known I wanted to be involved in music. That was just the art form that called out to me, I guess. I'm a really terrible illustrator, painter, and music. Music is like, oh, I think I can get this one right. But in the past 5 years or so, there's always been this pretty big conflict between my yoga practice and my music. And my yoga practice was cultivating a lot of light. And I felt like my artist in me could really only thrive in some degree of darkness. And it was through this project that I tried to merge those two together.
Interesting. So musically, as a child growing up, you always knew that you wanted to be involved in music in some way. I mean, were you one of these kids? Were you one of these kids that, everywhere you went, you'd sing?
Mom and Dad have pictures of me and 3 years old in these big oversized glasses, holding a toy microphone, and looking back on that, I think it was pretty obvious this would be something I would be into.
You made a statement then.
Seems so.
Yeah, I'm here and I'm here to do this, right?
Exactly.
Like it or not.
Exactly.
Wow, that's amazing. And through school, did you take like musical instruments, band, or anything like that? Guitar, piano?
Yeah, I was a flautist in the high school band, and I was in the school choir. And my best friend in high school taught me to play guitar when I was 13. But I was always a little disappointed in all of this cultivation of my musicality when I was younger, because I didn't feel like I had a very strong role model that could really anchor me, a mentor that could inspire me. And I always felt like that part of my my early years as a musician was missing something. It had that little bit of a hole there. And I think now that I'm an adult, I am very mindful of that as I teach and as I play music with others on how to really be clear and precise and uplifting in a way that maybe I didn't get as a kid.
So did you find that mentor?
Or
have there been many?
I really find my band sensationally inspiring. There have been a few people that have drifted in and out and who haven't really stuck, who have always seemed to fall to the wayside. But each member of my band is so exquisite in their own right. We have a keyboardist, Javi Santiago, and our guitarist, Xander Naylor, our drummer, Wes Reed, and our bassist, Russell Flynn. And the unit that they form with me is just so inspiring. We recorded the whole record live in 3 days in New Jersey. And that was a really special thing for me, and an important thing for this record was to capture that live energy of the quintet playing together. And it's a bit challenging to do if you don't have relationships with each other. And we had only known each other for about 5 months or so before we cut the album. We did maybe 5 or 6 rehearsals, and still, like, the energy in this record is pretty charged.
Wow, it is.
Yeah,
you would not be able to tell that's that short amount of time that you've been together. Congratulations.
Yeah, and we stuck, so that just proves that special unity we have.
So most of the music and the songs, they were written by you?
Yes, I wrote all of them.
And so when you brought this core of individuals together, and you had said earlier that there was a lot of people that came in and out and worked and didn't work. And
oh, yeah.
Any of them also have a yogic background?
There's a lot of spirituality milling around. I'm not sure if it would be yogic per se. But in the band now, our drummer absolutely has a pretty steady spiritual practice. And one of my longtime collaborators and close friends, Dylan Martinson, was a co-arranger on many of the tracks, and he is he's a martial arts master, baby. So it's nice to have that energy. Him and I are a dynamic duo, and he really understands that I'm trying to cut to the core of certain uncomfortable personal feelings and emotions in this band, and that it's just something we need to talk about sometimes.
Wonderful. Everything's from the heart.
Yes, very much from the heart.
So tell us how you came up with the name.
The name of the band is Avidya and The Kleshas, and many of your listeners will know that the Kleshas are, in yoga philosophy, the 5 hindrances to enlightenment, the 5 reasons why we can't be peaceful, happy, enlightened beings all the time. And those five afflictions are pretty universal. It seems that most humans tend to have these things. And the first of the five kleshas is avidya, which is ignorance or misknowing, misunderstanding. And it's the root of which the other four afflictions stem from. It's the mother klesha. And I had been practicing yoga about 3 or 4 years, and I'm pretty steadily a daily practice. And I was growing really frustrated with stepping into a yoga class with maybe a I don't know, a young teacher, and it would be kind of drilled into us like, just let go, just be peaceful, just take a breath and let it all go. And at first I felt like I can do that. I can definitely just let go. But sure enough, I couldn't let go sometimes, and I couldn't just be peaceful. And I really wanted to inquire as to why that was, why I couldn't just let go. And the kleshas kind of are that comfort to me, that label. And I feel like if we can talk about the kleshas, if we can talk about our own ignorance, our ego, our attachments or afflictions or our fears, in a very frank and honest way with ourselves, to really catch ourselves in the moment as we're doing these things that everyone does, we can say, oh, okay, that's happening, and put that label there and acknowledge it, understand it, and then rise up from it, and then let it go when we can understand what's actually happening in ourselves.
Wow, that's quite a journey for yourself.
Yeah. You know, like I said before, there was always this conflict between like the darkness of the artist in me, which I think is a stigma for many artists, and then the lightness of being a yogi and obtaining that feeling. And I feel like speaking about the kleshas through my art, through this musical project, is a really wonderful way for me to challenge myself personally and fuse those two sides together.
That's wonderful. Now, can you name the 5 kleshas?
You know, I can't pronounce them, but I can speak them in English, not in Sanskrit.
I'm sure that's perfect for our audience.
Yeah. So the 5 kleshas, the first one is our misknowing or our ignorance. And from there, the second klesha is egoism. The third is our attachment to pleasure. The fourth is our aversion to pain. And the fifth is our fear of loss or death. And much loss, you know, I think is welled up as a distant fear of death, the death of ourselves or parts of ourselves or our identity.
Mm-hmm. Very powerful. That is a whole life's journey there.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah.
A multiple life journey, I think.
Well, it's so interesting because the name of your album, your CD, which I'm actually going to hold up here right now, is called Tree of Series.
Tree of Series.
Yes. So, and the first thing I had asked was, are you going to have the follow-up albums to this one because of because of the name that you've named it?
Ooh, do you have any suggestions for sequential names? We could do like the blossoming leaves, or we could do a CD about roots. I could do like a whole slew of records that just like grew off of that name.
Absolutely. Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And then I would focus you on to one of our faculty, one of our late faculty, actually, who wrote a series of books about, you know, the tree of life and how each one of us is some part of that tree, you know.
Awesome. Yeah.
You know, are you the trunk? Are you the leaves? Are you the branches? Which part are you?
You know, the Tree of Series started as a pretty metaphorical thing in a band I was in many years ago. And the way I interpret Tree of Series is like the natural order of things. This would be like the phrase that my dear friend Dylan, who I mentioned, the phrase Dylan and I would use when something would happen in life that we just like were so awed by or confused by or blown away by, I'd go, well, it's the tree of series. It's the natural order of things. And it's kind of saying like, everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes things happen. Don't question it. Flow with it. Let go. Just breathe. Just be peaceful with it. Because more often than not, all those really uncomfortable moments have really a nice lesson in them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would call those moments that we couldn't quite understand yet the tree of series. That would be like the more esoteric explanation for that album name.
It works.
Yeah.
It works for our audience anyways. They're into the esoteric world.
Oh, good. I figured you guys were.
Yes. Some call it the woo-woo. We call it esoteric woo-woo, So really would you say that the focus of this album is really yourself working? It's so much from your heart that it's working towards your unfolding of your journey.
Absolutely. The unfolding of my journey, there's a track on the record. It's track 2. It's called This I Know Nothing. And that's really where I feel like I'm at right now. And that also is a good summary of what this record means. This I know nothing. It's like, oh yeah, I know what that is. And then I totally get schooled a little bit down the road in my life. And it's like, no, I have no idea what that meant. I don't know anything anymore. But it's more of like a homage to just like staying open and understanding that that's really hard to do. Yes. And understanding it's not going to happen all the time. I'm not going to be open all the time. But why not? Like, what are those roadblocks that prevent me or prevent anyone from just letting go?
Right. Well, the universe has its way of humbling us very quickly.
Yes, it does.
And kind of putting us sort of back on track again, and until we move forward a few more steps and then back on track,
Yes.
So, Stephanie, I'd like to take a moment and share a little bit of your music with our audience. What do you say to that?
My pleasure.
And I will share with you a cut of a song called Mother and God.
I am a rock. I am the glue. I glued my shredded heart, wept for help, but your speech was slurred, and you refused to watch as I pull myself together.
Let's just give everyone a little taste.
It's a good taste.
Oh, yes. It's really, it's when one can listen to this over and over again. I cannot believe that you've only been together for 6 months.
We were when we cut the album. We've been together now. I'd say about 1.5 years.
Wow, that's
2
wonderful.
years. Yeah,
wonderful. And you're performing live?
Yeah, we're based in Brooklyn, and we're performing locally, and we're setting up a tour for the fall, and you can find us online. Yeah.
Oh, that is so fantastic. And so you also mentioned in our pre-show, like when we were setting everything up, that you're also performing at the yoga studios as well now.
I am. Yeah, I've had the pleasure of performing at the Jivamukti Yoga School quite regularly. It's been my personal home for my own practice. And they've been very supportive over there. There's some great live music classes. And
wow.
Yeah.
New York's good about that. New York's really good about having the live music, the live drumming. It's just something about that East Coast,
There is like a yoga studio for every Starbucks in this city. So we're well equipped with live music in our yoga classes.
That's great. And when you do that, do you perform alone, or does someone
I've been performing solo? Yeah, it'll be a mix of these original tunes, a mix of some folk songs, some jazz tunes, and some mantras.
Wow, very cool. And on that note, we're going to play the next one for everyone so they can hear a little bit of that.
When I finally stop denying I'm empty, when the hard laws of love defeat dreams of peace, and I finally see all my needs are set to cease, and I quit whining and wanting and realize I'm alive. Now I know the path is not a straight line, and the path, the sweet path, takes its sweet time. I gotta wake up out the dream. Everything is rooted in the thing.
There you go, everyone. Got to run out and get the CD. Or if you're lucky to be in New York, you have to just go catch them live. I would do that if I were over there. So, Stephanie, I mean, you have this wonderful album, and we also hear that you are creating a little movement here with Free Spirits Music. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Free Spirits Music is my passion project here in Brooklyn. And as I mentioned, growing up, I always felt a little empty because I didn't really have a mentor to drive my creative process. Someone that would tell me that it's okay to make mistakes, and to show me with example how to be confident, or just how to evolve musically, but like also as a person. I mean, when you're being creative, the two go hand in hand so fluidly. So Free Spirits Music is a collective I started for adults and kids. And right now our featured program is a 12-week after-school program for beginner musicians, usually around the 6 to 10 age range.
6 to 10?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. You would be blown away by the incredible tunes that these young children are writing. And so in the program, they're learning guitar, they're learning how to sing, but they're also learning the art of storytelling and how to write original music, how to write original songs, pop songs, folk songs, rock songs, whatever. And at the end of the 12 weeks, usually they have about I don't know, like 3 to 5 tunes, and they perform them. And it's like a real rock show. And so they get that whole experience of like going through their own creative process. And my mission with it is to have these kids like understand where their roadblocks are, where they go, oh, I can't do that. I don't want to do that, and like kind of peel back those layers at that young age to expose like maybe why they're a little scared of challenging themselves, and understanding that just because something's hard, it doesn't mean don't do it. It just means do it until it's not hard, and be that emotional support and guide so that the layers don't get too clogged up as they grow older.
That's great. I mean, I think that's really brilliant, but I can't believe that you're starting from age 6. It's 10. That is really amazing.
It's really a fascinating age to work with because the self-consciousness hasn't fully quite developed. The affirmations and agreements that say, no, I'm not good at this. No, I can't sing this. I can't play this. I'm not good enough for that. Those things aren't really there yet. Mm-hmm. They're just starting to develop at that age.
Right.
So it's a lot easier to be open-minded and flow into the songwriting process, as opposed to when I work with adults. There's usually a good 3 to 5 weeks of conditioning adults to like allow them to have this safe space to share their ideas and not feel ridiculed or be in fear of ridicule. And it's really like just fascinating to me as an educator now, like how scared we are in general to be creative and to step outside the box. And there's so much fear with the adults I work with of being told their ideas aren't good.
Yes. It's amazing what happens from the young children who are so open to sort of stepping up to the plate. And really what I see in the schools and everything is it's not their inhibitions that they carry. It's actually from the adults around them. So what you're doing is removing all that, giving the kids the safe space to run like you are with the adults. But as adults, I think we just have layers upon layers.
It's
and
quite
years.
devastating.
It is, isn't it? When you think of it, where we've put ourselves as we get older, and yes, it's creating again. That's why I think the title where I've said, you're creating a new balance is allowing people to acknowledge that they have the choice of a certain freedom, their own choice.
Yeah, and that's like the kind of adults I like to work with, is the one that always wanted to be a musician, who always wanted to be on stage, but always said, no, that's not for me. But there was always that little voice that said, no, that would actually be pretty damn cool if I could do that. And sure enough, it's even gone so far that I've created a recording track with my students, because they're now accumulating this wealth of songs, the adults at the very least. And so now we're going to record them in my home studio, and I'm going to kind of walk them through the process of recording, and I suppose be their producer of sorts. And hopefully once they have their tunes recorded, I can then help them get some gigs around the city, and then walk them through the performance aspect. Yeah. So like, it's very integrative and very real. And, it's not like we're like just sitting together and like singing songs, just me and them, and then we, go away. I really want to be doing it in the most real way possible.
Well, you've been through all of it. You've sort of taken your journey and your struggles through all of it. So it's so nice to have. I mean, you're empathizing. I mean, you're helping the next person. You're giving them the stepping stones.
Yeah, I found it really hard to get to this place, and it's going to be hard to keep going. It's very isolating, especially here in Manhattan. There are a lot of musicians, and a lot of people want to I don't know, some people will just say things to seem a little taller than you, things that don't feel good. It's not always a supportive space. A lot of the times it is, but sometimes it's not. And you really need to have a support system around you that feels safe, that you can share your ideas with, and that will lift you up, as you need that in any community.
Well, you're gifting your students right now that gift.
Yeah, and it's actually a really nice recognition of the power of affirmations. Because I come across a lot of kids that they're not very good just yet. They're just starting, or they really have no concept of rhythm or time. And I'll just tell them that they're really great. And a couple months down the line, they really start getting it. And I can really tell it. They're like, I'm good at this. And they're not really, but I tell them they are. And I keep telling them they are, and I keep telling them they are. And then they get it one day, and it just clicks.
Yes.
And that's like the coolest moment. But if I really feel like if I didn't add that extra emphasis and that extra nourishment, that they'd probably just throw the drumsticks down or throw the guitar down and be like, all right, I'm out. This isn't for me.
Well, that's exactly what they would do. I mean,
yeah,
because that's how our society is cultivated to think. It's like, well, if you're not good at it, leave it. No matter how much you want to do it inside, if you're not good at it, just
achievement needs to be like gotten to very quickly. There's no room for progress sometimes, especially in this very like structured, bureaucratic public school system.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. There's no room for making mistakes or for just like sitting with the instrument for a long time until you get it.
Yes,
so.
Yes. And yet they might have the passion there. But I also say it's a lot to do with the families that they come from as well. Because, if the parents are encouraging and they understand it, as opposed to go, well, you're not very good at that. Even after 4 weeks, you better stop. I've heard that. I have heard that.
So have I. It's just so absurd.
It's like, okay, let's give you that instrument for 4 weeks and see how well you do. Okay.
Give the parents a big hug instead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's wonderful to know that there are parents out there that are allowing their children to pursue this. I think that's really wonderful, and sending them to your after school program.
It's very special.
Yes. Now, have you been doing it very long?
No, we're in our 3rd season.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we've been going for just about a year, and we were blossoming into 2 times a week. We were just doing it once a week. It was very small, but slowly but surely we're growing.
Yeah, oh, that's fantastic. And are you doing it at the schools themselves, or do you have a facility that people go to?
I actually do it in a professional rehearsal space here in Brooklyn. So it's a really wonderful state-of-the-art studio. Lots of national touring acts come through and rent the space out, and they have lots of different rooms. So we rent the small room, and we can hear musicians through the walls doing their thing.
How inspiring.
Really inspiring for them. And they press their ears against the wall and they listen and they peek out the doors. And I think being in that kind of professional atmosphere is really critical, because then they're just like learning by observing, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Well, for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
The adults don't press their ears against the wall.
No, they don't. Not even in the slightest.
They're still trying to break out of their own walls at that point.
Exactly.
Oh my, that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. So that is really your passion that is driving you right now.
Absolutely. Yes.
And what other wonderful goals do you have? Have you started writing for a new album yet, or where do you see yourself in the next few years?
Oh, that's such a crazy question.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd like to put out another record in the next year or so. I started writing it. It's very challenging, man. I teach these kids, and I hear myself speaking about the creative process every day over and over again. And still I sit and I stare at that blank piece of paper and I'm like, God damn it, what is supposed to go on this page? And it's really hard to be creative. So I am running up against that wall constantly and trying to kick it down. And after a couple of months of pushing my way through, it seems like I finally have broken that wall down. Yeah. And I'd like to have a record out I'd like to say by January. But knowing me, that probably means this time next year.
So keep focused on January. It's good.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to set shorter goals and work towards that. It's good to set any goal, actually. Any goal for any project is important.
But isn't it like with a yoga practice or any practice? It's like when they say, you're working through the blocks. For writers, it's like the writer's block, and people who are doing yoga, it's like, oh, I can't not get this asana. I cannot get this one pose. And then suddenly, like you said with the kids, one day it just kind of goes
fly up.
Yeah, and everything comes into alignment, right?
Yep. Man, that's such a perfect example of the process, and that's why fusing the yoga and my music together is so important. And I really believe that practicing yoga every day has taught me how to be a better artist. Mm-hmm. Yoga is an art form. Anyone who has practiced for a long time can feel that. But it's taught me the most important thing to do is to just show up. Mm-hmm. That's the number one rule with any art form. Show up and stop judging what happens after you arrive. Just showing up to the class is an accomplishment. Being present in the class is an accomplishment. It doesn't matter if you've done every pose perfectly or accurately, and it doesn't matter if I write the perfect song when I've shown up to my guitar or to my notebook. What matters is that I'm flowing through that process. I think that creating art is just as much of a, I don't know, vinyasa as anything. I put it that way.
It is part of life.
The sequence.
Well, but do you practice other forms of the other forms of yoga, like the breath work?
I do quite a bit of pranayama work, and it's been really, really awesome for improvising. Actually, there's just sitting in pranayama is very much like that transcendental experience of spontaneous improvisation with instruments. I really feel connection to it, whereas I don't actually care which one I do anymore. Whether I go to a jam or I sit and I do some alternate nostril breathing, they both bring me to the same place. I arrive at the present moment, and it's such a mind-blowing connection for me. It's to have the two come together in that way.
Well, they do say that the pranayama is the main basis of yoga.
Absolutely.
That the asanas came later.
I practiced yoga for 4 years to learn how to breathe. That's what my practice has taught me also. In the beginning of your practice, you're so caught up in learning the forms. There's not a lot of room for breath in the beginning of one's yoga practice. But once I learned the forms, then I could start taking breaths. And then, man, that's when it all comes together.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys all know that at home.
Yeah, a lot of the people here. But there's a lot of people who are just starting, and it's great for them to hear and be inspired about how it helps you as a musician, as a teacher, and how it takes you to that next level as well.
It's kind of like learning guitar, though. When you learn guitar, anyone who's ever played guitar will know this. Your fingers really hurt. Sometimes they bleed. The notes don't play right unless you're pressing down hard, but then your fingers bleed, and there's a lot of technique involved. And so many students don't make it over that initial hump because it's so physically challenging. Then once you get there, then you start playing full chords, and then you start playing scales, and then you start playing along to your favorite songs, and then the energy starts shifting in you, and then you really feel it, and you're like, oh yeah, like this is what it's about. That's what like breath work is.
So I have this question of, as you've been speaking about that, when you get sort of like your writer's block for your music, where you kind of need to shake it up, do you find that doing pranayama or the yoga, do you find that you that helps you unblock, or do you find that gets blocked also? Like
it's a little mixture of both. If I practice and I'm feeling writer's block, sometimes I really will like just let it all go, and I won't even like return to my craft because I feel it at ease. And sometimes the art, what's the right way to say this? When the art will like fill a void that yoga can also fill. And then like the urgency to create art sometimes diminishes with my strong practice, when my practice is strong. But on the other hand, the practice can erase all that chitta vritti and that racing of the mind and all the self-doubt and judgment, and let it all flow after So it's really dualistic for me.
Yes,
It's bizarre.
it is. It is. It's. I know for some artists, whether it be in music or other art forms, they have found that there's almost like a parallel between the two in their lives. It's like if they're stuck on one side, it's almost like the yoga or the breath work. They feel like they're stuck as well. It's like they're still attempting to break through. That's why I needed to ask that question of you.
Yeah, that's so not the deal for me. I can really throw myself into my practice and still be really stuck artistically. Yeah, that parallel does not always seem to be there for me.
There's a time and a place, huh?
No kidding.
Yes. So do you foresee that your next album is similar to this, where you are going to continue with this poetry and towards enlightenment?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say too much because who knows where it's going to go. But I can envision maybe a very specific concept record, like maybe like a 5-song record addressing each klesha, or maybe addressing the kleshas with very political aspect, or maybe a global aspect instead of such a intimate personal aspect as this record tends to reflect. Kind of reflects the individual struggles on the whole.
Yes.
But this is definitely a musical mission that I'd like to keep exploring for as long as I can.
Well, we definitely look forward to it.
Oh, good.
Yes. So, Stephanie, is there anything that you would like to add for our audience today?
No, we've talked about so many wonderful things. I am so thrilled to have been able to be here and share my thoughts with you, and I'm very humbled that you've been listening. Thank you.
Oh, definitely. And thank you very much for making the time and gifting us with this wonderful album. And we wish you and your band, of course, many, many blessings, that you will rise in every way and touch many, many lives out there. We can, that's what we will put out there in the universe, and all I can say is, hold on, girl.
Yeah. It's a ride.
It is a ride. And of course, we'd like to thank Segovia Smith and the Yoga Hub team for making this possible. And we'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us in this new platform of education and information. We're grateful for your continuous support and look forward to hearing your feedback on how we can serve you better. We invite you to join us live on Tuesdays for Magical Medical Tour at 10:30 a.m. Pacific, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, Wednesdays for Trinity of Life at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, followed every other week with Flowing into Awareness with Anatara. We're always grateful for any feedback or suggestions that you might have. Give us a call, 818-LETS-TALK, 818-LETS-TALK. Until next time, namaste. What's great? Who designed your album cover?
And it was painted by a good friend of mine, Gregory Rourke. And I actually did all the graphic design for the album.
Great. Wow.
Yeah.
A woman of many talents.
You got to be in this industry. You know that.
Yeah, they even say it's one of the hardest industries. And even in some respects now, it's sort of, with the iTunes and everything and the way music is moving, in some respects it's easier, but it's still...
Oh, yeah. It's really
tough.
A double-edged sword. There are no more gatekeepers, so everyone's allowed to make music.
Right.
But now there's no revenue stream coming in the way the old paradigm is built, which is based on making records.
Right.
So the only way to make money is through merchandise and through live ticket sales, and maybe through song placements on television shows or whatnot.
Yes. I mean, I just cannot imagine, because though I'm not from the music industry, you know, I understand the royalties. From the acting industry, we have what our royalties, which is residuals. And that is all beginning to dissipate too. And it's like, how do people bloody well make a living? And
They don't.
exactly. And every young person that comes into, oh, this is what I want to do. I go, okay, but before you do, and while you're doing that, get a straight job. Make sure you have a degree or you're good at something while you are creating the other.
Yeah.
Because do not, I mean, I always say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You gotta find something else that you really love to do so you can support yourself, because you get so frustrated that the art begins to crumble.
I feel that too. This would have been a great thing to talk about. I feel that so much, and I know so many people do, but it's like, you know, once you put money into the mix, the art changes.
It does.
The art shifts its face, and it's like, you know, you have to be really wise to make that conscious decision of either separating them or bringing them together. And when you're young, you just don't have that wisdom to like understand that struggle. And I really feel it, and I don't regret any decisions I make, but it takes a steady amount of consciousness and awareness to be like, okay, I know I'm just frustrated about money. I'm not frustrated about my art.
Yes.
And making that distinct separation.
Yes. It's man, I even my friends who are like older, more mature, you know, 50s, 60s, it's still hard for them. It's still hard for them to separate the two.
Yeah.
And I watch this and I kind of go, oh man, you know.
Well, it's like a lot of conflict, right? It's like a lot of first chakra stuff and survival and money and taking care of yourself. But then there's like that upper chakra stuff of like creativity and ingenuity and inspiration. And like, it's a battle. It's a battle. And you really got to be clear to kind of work your way through it.
Yeah, keep up the yoga, stay grounded. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, tell people just stay grounded, and the rest will come. And
it's like clockwork. If I don't practice, within a week and a half, I get all this anxiety about money and like my life choices. But the minute the practice comes back, it's all gone.
Yeah, that's
kind of
great.
scary. Actually, it's pretty scary.
You know,
that has so much power.
It does. Well, because you own it.
Mm-hmm.
You own it. I mean, you're the only one who can bring yourself to practice, whether it be at home or in a studio, but you're totally in charge. You're totally in charge of, I mean, full empowerment of your breath, of your movement, of your flexibility, everything, you know, and every asana that you go into. No one can adjust it but you.
And that's how the authentic artist comes out, in my opinion, is because you can learn that control and that discipline and that compassion for yourself through the practice, and then bring that to your medium.
Yes.
Whereas that might not be taught in whatever shape that your medium was taught to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get it.
Yeah, but you know, it takes a good mentors, like instructors that kind of guide you into not make it a power ego.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen that. I'm sure you've seen that.
Oh man, yeah. I just have very few teachers I can practice with now because it's so critical.
It is. And then you get to a point with that one teacher or something like that where you've reached your limit.
Yeah.
And you move to the next teacher. And it's amazing. Life is amazing. It's very exciting. YHTV's Trinity of Life. Come join me, Christina Suzama, as I journey to find the many modalities that support individuals, from children to adults to elders, with topics ranging from health and wellness, meditation, and inspirational stories. I invite you to visit yogahub.tv every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Sustainable movement, you know, and we started with a farm in Jamaica where we employ people in the community and try to create more jobs and opportunity. And from the farm, we realized that now that we have a coffee farm, it's a coffee farm, that we need to do more than just from my pocket to the farmer's pocket. We need to create something sustainable from that farm, the farming mythology, where we can do more for the farmers. And we created the product Mali Coffee. And then from there, we realized that not only do we have coffee, we have fruits and we have all different types of vegetation. So we went into